Give it to me.
The dark side is in our nature.
Although the creators of the Star Wars sequel trilogy intended to recreate the enchantment of the first films, they ought to have drawn more influence from George Lucas' prequels. In the years preceding Disney's acquisition, fans felt strongly about the Star Wars prequel trilogy, and they expressed a strong desire for original trilogy-style Star Wars content. When Star Wars made a triumphant comeback to theaters in 2015, Disney dutifully obliged, with each of the 3 sequel films and the standalone picture overtly referencing the originals. Regrettably, this also led to issues from which contemporary Star Wars has never fully recovered. Eventually, fans of the prequel trilogy demanded additional storylines set in that age, with viewers feeling that there wasn't enough diversity in the Star Wars films and television series. But one particular element of the prequels would have significantly enhanced the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and the narrative it attempted to portray. The obsession with maintaining the exact same structure as the original trilogy prevented the successor trilogy from reaching its full potential. Many of the new and intriguing characters in Star Wars, The Force Awakens felt compelled to conform to the roles of their original trilogy counterparts, and the film felt distractingly similar to A New Hope. Star Wars: The Last Jedi made an effort to be more innovative, yet it was too similar to The Empire Strikes Back to fully implement its novel concepts. The galaxy was left in the same condition at the conclusion of Return of the Jedi and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, rendering the majority of the second trilogy's plot unnecessary. An additional outcome of the sequel's excessive adherence to the originals was the omission of significant inter-film backstories. Since A New Hope was the first Star Wars film to be released, having an undiscovered past was acceptable. However, this strategy didn't work with The Force Awakens. As a sequel, the movie ought to have picked up where viewers left off when they last saw the characters, but far too much took place off-screen. Instead of being given the respect they deserved, Ben Solo's conversion to the dark side, Luke Skywalker's abandonment of the Jedi Order, and the breakup between Han Solo and Leia Organa were reduced to exposition dumps and fleeting flashbacks. The plot of the Star Wars second trilogy has a lot of potential, even with this poor execution. It's interesting to consider how Luke went from being an idealistic Jedi hero in Return of the Jedi to a shattered man in Star Wars: The Last Jedi, but not when such a drastic change occurs off-screen. Interesting concepts include the collapse of the new Jedi Order and the resurgence of the Empire, which illustrate how history repeats itself in the galaxy if it doesn't learn from its mistakes. If the writers had adhered to the prequel trilogy's framework, rather than simply rewriting the originals, all these sequel trilogy components would have been significantly more impactful. Rather than restricting the past of the sequel trilogy to exposition and flashbacks, The Force Awakens ought to have been a prologue a la Phantom Menace that concentrated on Luke's Jedi Order. In the originals, the characters would have begun to bask in the calm they had battled for, only for Ben's defection to the dark side to cause all to unravel. Viewers would get a close-up look at Luke's mental condition and how he progressively began to fear making the same mistakes as previous Jedi. Along with illustrating why Luke, Han, and Leia parted ways rather than sticking together, it would also depict what happened after Ben destroyed the Jedi Temple.